Hello and welcome to All for United. We are back again and praise every religious entity that exists. Football is back. Forget the Euros, forget the Olympics. Well, what a game that was for a final that we had this afternoon. It's all over. It's all done. We are less than 24 hours away from the traditional curtain raiser, the one that we all know, love, and never really care about, unless you win it, in which case you're always a little bit cockier than you probably should be. It is, of course, the Community Shield. We Man United is against Manchester City, and this is our new short form preview. So you'll have to let us know what you think about it. We've had the other ones, but we didn't really want to go for preview review. So instead, we're trying to change this up a little bit so you've got a nice, short, easy thing to consume. I don't know, maybe while you're having a shave or getting yourself ready for work, whatever it is you might be doing, all of those sorts of things. So that's the plan. And we are delighted to introduce all the way over from the United States of America, Crunk, which is somebody I'm really looking forward to talking to. Had a nice little chat backstage. Seems like a top bloke. Crunk, how you doing, mate? You okay?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be in the den of red right now. Ooh, enemy territory.
Absolutely, across enemy lines. That's what we like to do. So, very simple one. I asked you it backstage as well, but I think it's a pertinent question to ask because obviously you are American. How the Premier League, how Manchester City, what was it that made you fall in love with this beautiful game? It's a great story, by the way, guys. Enjoy it.
I will try to quicken up a little bit. So, growing up in the 90s, Manchester United, a lot of things, any movie or TV show where there was like a soccer themed anything, United was the team. They also usually were kind of like the bad guys or like the rich kids or whatever. And so I also tied them to the Yankees, and I am a St. Louis Cardinals fan. Yankees also were very dominant in the 90s. I just knew I didn't like them. So one day, 2002, I'm playing FIFA with a friend, and I'm scrolling through all the leagues. I go through them. I finally get to England, second division, and I'm scrolling, and all of a sudden I see this team called Manchester City, and I've never heard of them. They have this really cool Clipper ship, they had this really cool eagle, and then their kits were sky blue, and I love sky blue. It's like my favorite color, and that was kind of all I really needed. From there, a few years later, I started playing rugby, and that was really kind of what dove me into what we call over here as the alternative sports. And every year, I just got older, and the more freedom I would get, the more I would try to pay attention to football in general. Really, what was it, World Cup 2007, 2008, whatever year that was when I was like 100% locked in, where I was like, this is the coolest sport. And here I am now, shades of blue. We've been at it for 3 years now. So yeah.
Beautiful. Well, there we go. That's like I said, quite a story. Who knew a computer game, as I said backstage, who knew that something like that could be as vital to football support as that? Well, it is the 102nd Community Shield coming up. And of course, United win that 30 times. We won it 21. City have won it 6. That's 27 times out of 101. That's like 25% of all of the trophies ever given out have been won by us. The pertinent question to ask you, Crunk, I feel for me, is I'm a little bit stuck as to where this game is going to go tomorrow, because obviously we managed to get the win in the FA Cup, the one that mattered at that point, but you went on to win the 4th Premier League in a row, which has obviously not happened before. We've both got players missing. Our defence is still looking pretty weak. We'll go through those sort of things, but you've also got players missing who haven't returned to training yet. I mean, how can you see it going? I'd love to think we're going to edge it, but I'm not quite sure. How are you feeling about it at the moment?
Yes, like you said, we still have a lot of players who won't be back. Pep even said today he gave us who the players won't be there, and it's the big ones, Rodri, KDB, etc. We kind of figured that, and then a few days before that, Pep gave a warning to the players. He was like, if you're not ready to play football, don't show up yet. So either show up a day before Community Shield because you know you won't play, or show up after. I don't care. But if you show up now, be ready to play. So what I've just been trying, they shared, the players got back 3 or 4 days ago, and I've just been kind of watching those. I went to 2 of the US tour games that Man City was here. I went to North Carolina and New York. Those were the first 2 matches. I was able to be able to really watch what was going on. We'll get to the starting 11, but there at least were a good 4 or 5 traditional or like normal starting 11 players that went to the US tour or eventually showed up to the US tour. I believe they will be able to start. So other than that, and we've already sent a bunch of our better academy kids away. So it's one of those things where I think our team's going to be oddly very strong, but we're going to have a couple of spots where I think Pep's going to have some fun. But yeah, I know that United, I saw you kind of, yes, you don't have players back. Also, injuries are kind of killing you already. So yeah, I'm very interested to what you think you're going to have out as a starting 11.
That's what I mean. I think it is going to be a tough one. I mean, obviously, we're looking at Onana in goal because he doesn't seem to like anybody else, but India doesn't get a chance. So we called him back from international duty to go, any danger, you could just, travel the next day. So he's bound to start. It's obviously the back four. I think that's the big one. There's plenty of strength, I think, for United going forward, even without Højlund, who's going to be injured. We know there's no Euro. We know there's no Malacia still. We're not sure about Lindelof, Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, or Luke Shaw. Not necessarily that he's injured. There's a lot of misinformation going there that Luke Shaw has been injured, but he's not. He's just not available. He was training. We could see him physically doing it. So unless he's got an injury after that video, he's just obviously not quite at the level he should be, which is a real shame because he's obviously gone off to the Euros, played the final with England, but he's still not come back fit enough to play for us, which is quite frustrating because we pay his wages, right? So it's quite annoying. So I do feel that's going to give Harry Amas a chance. I don't think Eric's got any opportunity other than to start him. We also know that Johnny Evans missed out the Liverpool game, which is a bit annoying because if he's still ill, he's not going to be 100%. So the defence is a problem. We do have Martinez, we do have Dalot, and I think the fact that we've got them two will be quite helpful. If Evans is fit enough to start, then that's not too bad. And Harry Amas, I think, has equipped himself well in the pre-season. I think you're probably looking at Casemiro and Mainu as the centre 2 midfielders, which would be good. Bruno just behind with Ahmad, Rashford, and of course the new signing, Joshua Zirkzee. But that's the big one. Will he start? Will we go with somebody else? And when you look at the probable subs that we've got, you've got Sancho, you've got Mount, you've got Eriksen, McTominay, Garnacho, and Anthony potentially all available. I think our forward line is good enough to give you a heck of a battering if we try to. The likes of Ahmad did pretty well in the game in the FA Cup as well, and Mainu. We've got guys that have the ability to get out there and do that, but defensively could be a little bit dodgy. So you said no KDB. From what I understand, Ederson might be a bit of a question mark. He missed your last pre-season game, so it could well be Ortega, which would be great for us because obviously he was in goal for the FA Cup final. We know no Rodri, Foden, Walker, and Stones because they're not back yet. Is there anyone else who you think is going to be missing?
Of substance. Well, obviously Alvarez will be gone. I mean, you basically nailed everybody because all the other players have basically returned and have been practicing for a few days. Yeah, so like Ortega, I'm expecting Ortega to get the start, which has been really. Ortega's an amazing backup. He's in the world of keeper backups, he's in the top 3, I feel, because he could be starting at many clubs. But I think for how Pep wants people to play, Ederson, the gap between Ederson and Ortega, I feel is substantial. And I get a lot of pushback because a lot of people love what Ortega does. He can distribute the ball, yes, but it's nowhere near the ability of Ederson's, and we've seen it on TV. I got to see it with my own eyes in person, and you can say yes, he was out of shape, etc., whatever. But and even Ortega's thing is supposed to be shot blocking. That's supposed to be what he's better than Ederson, but we saw him at the FA Cup. He honestly he struggled in the 2 games that I went to. Actually, he let multiple goals go past him. So that's what worries me, when he's supposed to be the shot stopper, but he's not stopping shots anymore, and he's not as good distributing the ball. It just stresses me out. Vardiol, he's been playing basically since the moment he returned to the US. So I expect him to be there. And then Rico Lewis has been playing he played every preseason match. Basically, I think almost all of the preseason, in fact. So I expect the same thing. He's going to start. The center back duo, I honestly have no idea who it is. Like, it could be some young people. It could be Ruben Diaz. I definitely think he's going to rest John Stone. So I think it's going to be Diaz. None of the young players on tour impressed me. So if he puts any of them in, I would be very stressed. Calvin Phillips played a lot of center back in the last 2 preseason games, where he looked really good, actually. I think it was one match, he had 14 successful long passes, and they were just like perfect, set our players up for, and Haaland could eat with that, and he did, actually. So I don't know if KP is going to be there in midfield. If he's in the midfield as a Rodri replacement, I'm terrified. If he's back there as a center back, I'm super excited. So that it's kind of amazing how that happens. If in the midfield, it could be KP, it will be Kovacic, it will be McAtee. So I don't know who's going to be that other holding midfielder. I'm going to be interested and terrified to find out who that is. Grealish will get the start. Haaland will get the start. And over on the right, it should be Oscar Bob, because he was a star during the preseason. But also wouldn't surprise me if like Daku or someone else gets in there.
It's going to be an interesting one. I just want to break away from it slightly, because obviously we've been talking a lot about the preseason that we've had so far here at United, and I can't stand pre-season as it stands anymore. It's traveled completely away from what it used to be. So it used to be that the big football clubs in England would go and play the smaller clubs in England. So they might play teams, a league or 2 leagues below them, which would obviously really help with revenue and things like that. It wouldn't necessarily be the first team players, but everybody's around in the training area and able to practice and get tactics and all that sort of stuff going on. And obviously, with the explosion of the game globally and how that seems to have gone, there's a lot more going around. And you guys would have felt this with the NFL coming over for one game for the American football. But obviously for us, we're now seeing our pre-seasons at the moment disappear overseas, which doesn't bother us so much in terms of going to watch the games, I don't think. But in terms of actual preparation, like, you're just like us. You're coming into this Community Shield. You've got players missing that have not reported back for duty yet. We're a week away from kicking off. For us, literally a week away. We start on Friday. And this is going to be the first time that we're going to have all of our team together with the ability to play a football match. But obviously, you're American. So having the chance to see Manchester City is something you wouldn't necessarily always get the chance to do. So I'm just intrigued to see your thoughts on pre-season, really, because like I say, from an English point of view, we do sit there and go, what is going on? Because it is just a money-making exercise and expanding the brand, I suppose. But as an American football fan, that must be quite good for you. So what's the sort of the feeling over in America as the big teams come over?
Yeah. So first off, I will say one of the many quotes that Pepe said about players showing up late and everything, and I quote, "We will be late." That's what he just said, about, because people are like, all right, you're the champs. Are you going to start off with an undefeated run? And if you know anything about Manchester City, our worst runs of our season are always the first 2 months. Like that's where you will get us to drop points, is in the first couple of months. So this is what I expect. I expect us to struggle. If we win the Community Shield, I would love that. I'm the one who takes the Community Shield, the Carabao way too seriously on our with everybody else around me is like, relax, move on. But the Carabao Cup is what really helped Manchester City get the confidence to know that they could win trophies consistently, because it was like 4 years in a row where we won the Carabao, 5 years in a row that we won the Carabao. That was
success, right?
Yeah, that was exactly. So that's why you never want to forget where you came from, and that's kind of how I feel about that. But when it comes to the US tour, I completely understand where traditionalists might not like the idea of the tour, because they come here and basically they do a couple of hours of training, but for the most part it's just smiling, cameras, doing social media stuff. They're asking a lot of these players, and at both New York and North Carolina, I realized that how much goes into it. There were so many people who were working for Manchester City that had nothing to do with like the production team or presenting and stuff like that. They were just people setting things up, and I was able to chat with a lot of those people. And I don't know, that me finding out about that part and talking more to the people who are doing the behind the scenes, it made me kind of appreciate the work that the clubs are going through to globalize and grow the brand. I love getting this opportunity to go to the practices. Like, that was so cool, going to the open practice and watching them do their drills and grow. And obviously I'm entirely too old to I don't want to shame other people who are my age and stand and get their thing signed, but that wasn't what I was interested in. I wanted to just see the process. Where I live, there's not really a big football community. So the chance to be surrounded by people in football shirts, that's never goes unappreciated from me. And I tried to just soak it in as much as I could. Yeah. So I'm just internally thankful, because I spent a lot of money, but I didn't spend as much money as I will when I go to England.
Of course. Would you swap that? So would you swap the chance to see the pre-season stuff if just one Liverpool game came over? One Man City game came over to America.
And
so
it mattered?
Regular season match that mattered. Because I often think that's part of the problem, is that they're going over there. We've got players, like any Euros, got himself injured in a game that really didn't matter. Just entertaining the fans, really, more than anything else. Whereas if he was over there and he's playing a match middle of the season, it's Man United, Man City, for example, and there it is in the middle of America, they'd never do that, because that would be crazy from a money point of view. But if they did, it would matter. And so you wouldn't take it quite so badly, because it's just a football match that matters. And you would have that time with the pre-season with all of them together, because half of our team came back from the Euros and were just training by themselves while everybody else is away. And it's like when your parents go away, you just sat there like, nobody's watching, everything's good. And it feels just mad to me. And that's why there are perhaps so many slow starts, like you say, when the season begins. So would you swap that?
I am empathetic to the traditionalists. So I actually am very content with having preseason matches and getting the players in games that don't matter, because if City come over here and then they lose the match, and that is what I guess could be life or death for a fifth Premier League in a row, I would hate. Because just that talk of the one Premier League match coming over here, and it started off being the last match of the season, we already get enough slack and hate towards us about the capitalism and money and the ownerships and stuff like that. I just want to be calm. I just want to enjoy my football. I don't want all the red hot arrows being sent our way. It's tough enough. So I am perfectly content with having these preseason matches, because I also think we wouldn't be able to go to the practices. I don't think they'd have the players as available, because Pep would want his players as focused and locked in as possible. Yeah. So I think it's just there are better opportunities that we get as fans to connect with the players because of the fact that it's preseason.
That's fair. got to ask this question as well because it's been right up there. The 115 charges that are going on at the minute, and I'm genuinely not having a dig here. That
Oh no, you're fine.
must stick over your heads quite massively at the moment, not knowing what's going to happen with that, not knowing how the outcome is going to come. Do you think that's going to have, because we are expecting to find out about that this season,
Mm-hmm.
do you feel like that's going to have any bearing whatsoever on your club? And also, what can we expect from Omar Barada? Do you think that, him jumping over was a, let's get out of the ship before it sinks sort of thing? Or, why do you think he chose to come over to us when he could be, as you say, swimming in the swimming pool of money that is over there at City at the minute?
So all of the listeners who have been enjoying me, this is probably where you're going to start disliking me. I am a big fan of being okay. So when the 115 first became a thing, I truly downloaded 2010 to 2017 every single year of the digital Premier League handbook and went through every single rule to try to understand it as much as I could. I've listened to so much. Very long story, less long. 100 and I think maybe 10 to 20 of the charges will actually stick. So many of them are like predecessed on another. So if we can knock one thing out, then a good chunk of them are gone. And I think that was purposeful. They threw as much as they could and see what would stick. And even with a lot of it, it's financial mishaps and maybe not sending in the proper paperwork for Champions League and FA Cup. And if the paperwork is correct, then there's a lot of other things that kind of get out of the way. Yes, there's financial mishaps and stuff. And a lot of chunk of it also is us making it difficult for them, which I think that's really what we're going to get in trouble for a lot, is mucking up the research. So yeah, like I said, 10 to 20 charges. I think we're going to get a huge fine, like a world record fine, maybe a year or two transfer ban, and I don't think it's going to be, it might be some points. Obviously we're going to get a points deduction, but I don't think it's going to be enough to get us relegated, because in order for that to happen, we would need like an 80-point deduction, I would feel, because that 17-point threshold, right? 17, 20 points. So we would need an 80-point deduction. I don't think that's going to happen. I could see 20 to 50, 20 to 60. It unfortunate to say, this is the Premier League. As badly as they want Manchester City to get in trouble, they have now become too accustomed to the attention and money that Manchester City does bring. They are still struggling on making the agreements of how they want to pay EFL and those lower leagues and stuff like that. Do you think they want to give away their big moneymaker to the lower leagues by relegating them due to it? And it's one of these, like, I shouldn't say this. I agree. It's like an awful way to think of it. I agree, but it's reality sometimes, and it's unfortunate. Do I think City actually are guilty of a lot of this stuff? Sure. But what I say is half of the clubs should be eternally thankful for the illegal activities that Manchester City did, because now we're seeing everybody getting money from these sketch gambling sites that don't actually have websites and things like that, or they're bringing all these players in with these deals. There are a lot of things that people are getting away with because they are able to use what City did as breaking down the barriers, but they also want to hold that against us. And that's kind of really what angers me the most out of this 115.
It's an interesting way of looking at it, that's for sure. I don't know what to make of it, really, other than there's always been too much money in the game, and I think that's the big problem now. Is it's a ridiculously what's the word? I'm saturated just with money, just everywhere. Everything is about the money and just maximizing as much as they can. And obviously, it completely spoils the sporting entertainment. But listen, we're nearly at the end. I think we'll just sort of go back very quickly to the to the Community Shield. You said it really matters to you. Like I say, as a United team, we won it 21 times. It's something that we're accustomed to doing well in. But what do you think the score's going to be? Where do you think it's going to go?
I would like to think City's going to win. If we get the starting 11 that I talked about, and with the players that could be missing defensively, at least for United, I think your top three could be very potent. Your midfield might be a little scary. And then your defense, it's going to be bad. So I think we should be able to take advantage of that. I could see like a 3-2, 4-2. I expect goals because even in the preseason, City gave away goals, but we were scoring them as well. So I could see a very fun. I think at least there will be at least 4 goals in this match.
It's really interesting you said that. So I'm sitting here thinking, what do I reckon the score is going to be? And I can get to be 3-2 United.
Yeah.
Or, something like 3-all. And we end up with one of those random penalty shootouts. Did you have that in the City preseason ones? Did you have a normal game and then no matter what the score was, there were penalties at the end?
There was one for I want to say the last match. There was a penalties, and Pep, they specifically were like, we don't want to do this, but they made them do the penalty shootouts. And City are notoriously, we are horrendous at shootouts. So if it's tied going into PKs, I just will be like, I will tweet at you guys and be like, congratulations on the victory, because I just assumed we're going to lose it.
Honestly, Ten Hag after our one, we'd lost 2-1 to Arsenal, and we had a penalty shootout and won the penalty shootout. And one of my mates woke up in the morning and went, "Oh, we see we beat Arsenal." It's like, no, we didn't. That's the whole point. We lost 2-1, but we won this pointless penalty shootout. And Ten Hag afterwards gone, well, we're in a lot of competitions next season, so we need to practice penalties just in case. I'm thinking just practice the scoring. Just score the goals, and then we're going to worry about penalty shootouts. It's not we sitting there trying to draw games, 0-0, 1-1. Never really tends to go too well. Crunk, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, mate. Really enjoyed the chat and the conversation. I would say good luck for the season, but it would genuinely be disingenuous. I don't want you to win. I'm sure it's not going to be the same the other way around, I'm sure. So, but I will say thank you, and I hope you personally have a good season and enjoy watching your team. But cheers for joining us. If you've got City fans who've decided they're going to come over and have a little watch on what's going on, where could people find some City content from you?
So we go by Shades of Blue. You can find us on all of social media, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, etc. at Shades of Blue and W. One thing that we take huge pride in is we collaborate with a lot of people who aren't City. Our whole thing is we also cover City men and women. We love just the sport of football. So I just over the summer, I did episodes with one person from each team in the Premier League about their team. We talked about their team. I brought on a bunch of people who just talked about how they fell in love with football, what they love about football, and they support teams in Argentina, Portugal, Ireland. We just truly just love the sport, and we build a community. We're also bringing on a Bundesliga pod, a WSL pod, an MLS podcast, and an Arsenal podcast. So we're really growing our network. So yes, we welcome all Blues, all City fans, but I would say no matter what club you support, you would be able to find something for you in at least one of our episodes.
There you go. Good stuff. And naturally, of course, you can find us as well on All for United. We're on all those places except Threads. I haven't quite got into that just yet. But I'm sure if Mr. Musk carries on doing what he's doing, we might have to find our way over there. He seems to get a little bit annoyed over here in Britain, doesn't he? But really good stuff. Thank you very much for joining us. If you're watching this back, which I'm hoping you are, then please do like and subscribe. We're looking forward to seeing you. It's going to be a great game tomorrow. We'll be back probably on Sunday to dissect it all and see what went right and what went wrong. And we can't wait to do it. But until then, take care of yourselves and enjoy your weekend. See you later.